here we are in Guyana, in the middle of the rainforest, bringing people together, leaders from the public sector, private sector, in the NGO space, people who put their egos aside, put their titles aside, and come in a Maloka way to talk about issues and challenges and take that knowledge, those relationships, those connections with them and with their day-to-day work and day-to-day lives.
One of Concordia's strengths is supporting partnership development across its entire time frame. We know we don't solve the world's problems in a 4-day experience bringing people into the Amazon. It requires continued relationships and opportunities to come together over time.
Industry should get involved with the Amazonas Initiative because it is on all of us, whether you are a company based in the United States, based in the Indo-Pacific, based in Europe, wherever you are. The Amazon rainforest matters to all of us as human beings. As our chairman of the Amazonas Initiative likes to say, it is the lungs of the earth here in the Amazon rainforest.
Having President Ali participating in the Concordia Amazon Initiative Summit was very important. Not only because Guyana is one of the most mega diverse countries in the planet, and not only because it has 95% of its territory in tropical forest, but also because he made a big pledge. And not only a pledge, a road to achieve the pledge, which is to get to 30% of the territory of Guyana legally declared as a protected area by 2030.
We are looking at ensuring that our energy credentials is one that adopts the best practices globally, but importantly, that our energy platform is used to fuel growth and development in all the other sectors. Guyana will be in lead position on energy. We'll be in a lead position on food security and on climate security, and of course, biodiversity. Those who believe that they have 50 years to wait will be missing the opportunity. The opportunity is now.
The leadership of the President and also working with the Minister for Women and the First Lady, I think they were, from the beginning, the political will was to ensure that the amazing economic benefit that the finding of the oil has brought to Guyana would be spread among the people. They were very, very keen to ensure that everybody had an opportunity to experience the growth and it didn't just go to a select few.
Learning from President Ali and hearing his plans for sustainable development in the country has been incredibly inspiring, and I think it really feels like we're at this, that Guyana is at this inflection point, and that there's so much hope and so much ambition to really get this right.
Conservation International has been working a lot in Guyana, and Sophia Point is one of the leaders in terms of nature research and scientific participation in ensuring the protected areas of Guyana. So having as part of this agenda the signing of an MOU, or as we say, an MOU, between Conservation International and Sophia Point just emphasizes the role of Concordia.
Every company, especially those of hard assets in manufacturing, in energy and food and other key industries, those companies have an impact on the Amazon rainforest. It trickles down, it transcends borders, it transcends geographies, and has an impact right here on the front lines of the Amazon rainforest. So companies need to show up, leaders need to be informed and educated to be able to understand an issue by having seen it firsthand in front of you is more powerful than any report, any documentary could ever achieve.
Please welcome to the stage Concordia's Telma Ortiz, His Excellency Iván Duque, and the Honorable L.D. Barbalho of the state of Pará, Brazil.
This video we just saw reflects the work and the positive vibe the Amazon initiative created in Guyana last July, where we explore how market-led solutions are key to advance conservation efforts and promote sustainable development in the Amazon region. Here on stage, I have two prominent people from two countries from the Amazon. His Excellency Iván Duque, former President of Colombia, and as important, the mind of this initiative, but also the soul of it, the soul of this initiative. He launched the Concordia Amazon initiative 2 years ago, remember, on this same stage. And his dream came true. First in Tena, Ecuador, 2 years ago, and this year in Guyana. Bienvenido siempre a tu casa, Presidente.
Muchas gracias.
Concordia. Muchas gracias. Here also with me is the Honorable Governor Barbalho from the state of Pará in Brazil, who is absolutely committed to the conservation of the Amazon, so much that he is hosting COP30 in Belém next year, and also our next Concordia initiative as well. Bem-vindo, governador. É prazer e muito obrigada pela sua presença na Concordia por mais ano. Second ano. Let's talk about the future of the Amazon, right? That's why we are here. That's the title of the panel. President Duque, let's start with you. The Amazon is a shared resource between several nations, right? How can regional cooperation among Amazon countries can be improved to ensure the market-driven conservation efforts are coordinated and effective across borders?
Well, first of all, Telma, it's a great honor to be in this panel with you and also with our dear friend, Governor Barbalho, for the second year in a row, and we're definitely looking forward to being in Pará next year. I think that the most important thing to realize is that the Amazon captures around 10 or 12% of all the global CO2 emissions every year. So it plays a fundamental role for the protection of the planet. And at the same time, it holds almost 20% of all the world's biodiversity. But the Amazon is threatened. It's threatened by deforestation, negative use of land. And if we don't act rapidly, and if we don't put the Amazon action in terms of carbon neutrality and nature positive solutions, the Amazon will no longer be a contention wall in the next 5 years. So we have to protect the Amazon. Now, how? I think market-driven nature-based solutions make a lot of sense, and we should focus on at least 4 ways of doing it. One, I think for some of the governors and the states, for example, in Brazil, even some of the states in Colombia, the figure of debt swaps for conservation is something that will provide right incentives for the local authorities. Second, I think building biodiversity credits and biodiversity bonds are very important to get all the liquidity that is looking for safe investments in the environment with an impact to look at this place to allocate resources. And definitely guarantees for the local governments, guarantee for some of the companies that are investing in the Amazon and building aggregated value chains with local communities are the kind of smart finance solutions that I think we should put in place. And that's why we're advocating for those inside the Concordia Amazon initiative. And I'm very pleased that Governor Barbalho has taken a very strong voice. The fact that Brazil is hosting COP30 next year will allow to have the discussion on bold smart finance solutions to take place. So that's a bet that we have.
You introduced already many of the topics or many of the most important things that we need to talk about, but do you think it's possible a common coordination or collaboration between the countries?
We were able to put together the Leticia Pact in the year 2019. In the 1970s, OTCA was born as an institution, which is the organization of the Amazonic Treaty. But I think it has to be updated. The institutions need to be updated to the circumstances we face now. And maybe we should try to work with the CAF and the IDB and other multilaterals on creating a specific kind of facility for guarantees and long-term investment in conservation for Amazonic countries, but also for Amazonic subnational entities.
So President Duque already introduced a very important topic, what means Amazon, not only for the region, but for the world. So Amazon is often referred as lungs of the planet. Governor, how do you envision balancing economic development with the urgent need for environmental conservation?
So, thanks invite me another year in staying in Concordia. I prefer speaking Portuguese, so I recommend I use the translator to understand me. That's okay.
Beautiful Portuguese Brazilian accent.
Yes, or Portunhol.
Yeah.
Okay. Obrigado, Telma.
Thank you, Telma, and my friend Duke. It's a pleasure to be here another year, and thank you so much for your hospitality in Belém when we had the opportunity to talk about the Amazon and talk about the opportunity that we are having right now. The COP30 in Amazon is important to overcome these challenges, but also an opportunity to present what we need for Amazon and their solutions for the environment. What is happening right now is to call for your voices to support us for the local communities of the rainforest and sustainability to preserve the environment. This is an environmental ambition and to help the people that live in the Amazon. And the Pan-Amazon has 50 million people, so we always need to understand the challenges, the environmental agenda, and that the rainforest has for the environment, for that balance. And this ambition is also acknowledging the challenges that we need to overcome to take care of its people. The reduction that we need of the emissions that are getting us to return to a better level environmental and also for the economy. We will be doing this important ad for the carbon credit in a legal way in the Pará state, so that these outbreaks will be reduced, the farming will be reduced, and especially in terms of the annual amount of farming. This has been 390 tons at $15 each. So this year we're going to be doing 2 million of carbon to be reduced, so that we get $200,000 that will be for the indigenous people, for their communities, and for the farming in family. And this will reduce at 30%, so that we can be able to reduce the carbon emissions in the Pará state. This conciliation of farming will be another idea, so that the forest that is better alive than dead, so that we can stop the emissions. 2036, this is what we want.
However, creating a new opportunities for the economy. So this is conciliated together with a bioeconomy, with the restoration of the plan of the state, the environmental services. So there's a combination of actions that we can effectively save the forest by saving also the people and building a new developmental model for our region. So do you think it's important to have this balance between economy and development? Not only understand that, but I think it's fundamental. There is no sustainability when you look only to the needs of preservation. It is only sustainable if you take care of the forest and you take care of people at the same time. So it's not, so you cannot just look above the trees. You also have to look underneath the trees, and also to understand that underneath the trees, people live there and they have to have opportunities and quality of life.
You already have a strategy, but let me know. So for COP30 approaching, so in next year, how do you envision specific Para role in leading discussions on sustainable development and conservation, both for Brazil and for the international community?
So the opportunity to be the COP headquarters, so it makes all the world look into the Amazon. So it's a great opportunity for us to re-encounter the essence of the climate summit. After 2 years, that COP will be happening in countries that have their economic forces coming from fossil fuels. There will be a re-encounter to the mission, with the mission that COP has put to itself to actually put their feet on the Amazon forest. So it will be the first time that the mobilization through the climate change will be done from people with their feet on the forest. It will be the first time that the Pará state will have the ability to show our deliverance, to show how we can build this transition on how we use the soil, on how we have the bioeconomy in a with respect to social aspects, and to be, of course, together with all the Pan-Amazon countries to propose to the planet first. The Global South has an environmental revolution as a solution for the future, and the North, the Global North, has done the Industrial Revolution. So nowadays, this Industrial Revolution has created a model for sustainability, but also that necessitates the purchase of carbon credits, so that we can offset what is the model that is currently in place. So we have this ability to create a balance between the two models, so that we can also have opportunities to win the social challenges from our countries and our states. And so in this way, I understand that Brazil can be a world leader in this agenda. It can propose to the world effective financing, so that it can show that the forests will contribute to its share for the future of humanity, and to reduce the emissions and the impacts that those have in the world. And so the forest represents 30% of the what we need for the world to survive. So we have to monetize this, so that we can make that the forest can survive to the economic pressures, and so that we can have a model that will effectively allow for us to have in the next few years a solution that is based in nature as the main point for building a new civilization. And so then the large countries, the ones that to lead the economy in the world, they need to sign less papers and less documents, but do more effectively with initiatives that are real, so that we can save humanity from solutions that are based in nature and in the needs of people. So thank you very much. So what do you think is the role of Brazil? Thanks for talking about the role of Brazil in this conservation
not
efforts.
only what happened in the top of the trees, but who is down on the earth. So, Presidente, you often emphasized the importance of involving indigenous communities in conservation efforts, right? What lessons have you learned from these communities that could inform wider strategies to market-driven conservation and development in the Amazon?
So I think basically the biggest goal to achieve is to massify the payment for ecosystemical services. We need to make the indigenous communities protectors of the Amazon, and we need also to include them in the aggregated value chains that I mentioned. I think in many occasions you've heard from me that we need to use more of the Amazonic products to be known in the world and be part of those value chains. And I refer to sacha inchi, for example. It's a very important seed, very rich in omega-3. You have copoaçu, açaí, camu camu, fruits and products from the Amazon that have a lot of virtues for health, for the cosmetic industry, and that if they are grown in a sustainable way, protected by the indigenous communities, traded by them in long-term agreements, well, they'll be able to cut any kind of negative incentive to destroy the forest and instead protect the forest. But also, you have to pay to preserve and conserve the essence of the Amazonic fauna, and you have to do it by the consideration that those units of territory have a value that needs to be established. One of the things that I foresee with the Concordia Amazon Initiative in partnership with many academic centers is that we're able to calculate an equivalent of a gross biodiversity product, so that we know what's the cost of biodiversity, what's the value of biodiversity, and what is the right equivalent payment that we should receive in order to protect. Because sometimes happens that when you get into the carbon credits, when units of territory that already exist, it's more difficult to get into a smart finance and a smart auditing mechanism. But you're able to determine that protection is part of nature positive solution. You should give a value to that nature positive, be able to create the financial product and get the massive mobilization of resources in which you can pay the indigenous communities for ecosystemical services. So it has to be sustainable, scalable, and replicable.
So as we are in Concordia, and you know better than anyone that this collaboration, this alliance in between private sector and public sector, it will be,
well,
perfect.
Telma, and I'm glad that Governor Barbalho is here, because we spoke that in Belén last year, and why we decided to take the Concordia Amazon Initiative to Brazil, to Pará, in July 2025, is because we consider there's a vision of the private sector and the public sector working together, because there are opportunities for payment for ecosystemical service, because there are opportunities to protect the virtues and the essence of the Amazon, and that we have to show to the world and present for COP30 a report in which we say smart finances are possible, these are the right mechanisms, and we already have the buyers and we have the sellers.
So financial inclusion and empower indigenous communities to make them entrepreneurial business. It is possible with this, promoting with them this partnership between public sector and private sector, right? You think it is
yes.
possible?
Example tonight. Hoje ou por la noite, o recurso que
So
nós
the
vamos
resources
receber
that we
hoje
receive now will be shared a part of it will be governments that are buying credits from the state of Pará, the US government, the UK government, and Norway. And part of that is private sector companies, like big companies from the global sector that are buying credits from our state. So the share of those resources will be reverted to the indigenous, the quilombolas, and the extractivist communities, and the family farming as well. So the state will be able to create credit to reduce emissions, to do a partnership of the private and the public sectors, and the resources that come from those partnerships will be reverted at the largest part with the communities, because the communities will be helping us to preserve the forest. They they need the opportunities to have a social change in their environment, and what comes that supports the state and the government budget, I still have to continue that to be able to reduce emissions. So today we will be doing a sale for 12 million tons, and we have a certification that we have 390 million tons to be sold. So that means 35 billion reais, reals. And so if we do the conversion, you think about $10 billion for the agenda that we're showing here of a new type of activity that is effective. And so I would say, actually, this movement shows a new kind of economy that is presented to the state that allows us to preserve the forest and generate richness for the peoples of the forest.
So this green finance and all this new engineering finance for it will have social impact in the communities on the ground.
Exato.
Seguro.
Just a number to conclude here. This operation that is done today, this will be for the indigenous people in Pará, and 240 million reais. And this was never in history. In 500 years of colonization and the Brazil discovery in the indigenous community that got this in the state, the opportunity to receive $50 million to transform their local reality. And we're only talking about one small operation or action that has an extraordinary impact that we need of this social transformation, and also in an economic level, in an environmental level, because otherwise we're just going to be doing examples, and that would just be showing, oh, this is how it works, but that wouldn't really save the environment, because it's just an example. We have to do a societal example and action.
The end
Thank
of this
you.
panel is a pity.
Muito obrigada.
It's such a pleasure to talk to you. We are, I think, myself and all the audience, very excited to see that all these plans are getting really. So thank you so much. Muito obrigada, Gobernador. Muchísimas gracias, Presidente. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Muy bien, Eldo.
Mucho gusto. Gracias.
Excelente.